update on the OCE for Relationship Development project for fall 2020. So our problem is that many busy students really want to make friends that are outside their immediately social circle. However, they don't have the time to engage in new activities within that new circle to meet these new people, and that there is no really socially comfortable way for them to meaningfully engage with each other. There's a very high bar of initiation that they must get through, and any low initiation efforts don't really help them meaningfully engage with each other. So one instance that we've noted recently is that a club member of a club want to connect with each other. However, they've tried using a Slack bot called Donut, and they've had really bad results with very few initiations happening with conversations and meetings not being a thing that people start. So our solution is to create a common grounding between individuals where they engage in the same environment and have the same affordances to interact with. So, and this also, in addition to opportunistically initiating these interactions between them when they are intending to these same affordances, and leverage a mutual friend to create this convenient and comfortable space for them to engage with each other. So our contributions this quarter is that we refine the user groups and then based on that kind of define our design arguments and the prompt guidelines that help in, further self-disclosure among these strangers who have a mutual friend. So in addition to that, we also conducted studies on how well the OC currently promotes self-disclosure within the interactions. And in that effort, we further define what defines a good self-disclosure that helps further along people's relationship. And we've had preliminary evidence that supports that OCE is indeed promoting these kind of self-disclosure. And we've also kind of brought up ideas for improvements to how we go about studying, as well as how we can look for other clues about how the design works. So just looking at the design argument, here we list the outcome, obstacles, and characteristics, and kind of the overarching argument is that by supporting, by opportunistically creating spaces for interaction based on user affordances, we remove the necessity of the user's planning and initiating interactions, and replace that with a casual system-mediated space. And since the system mediates both the initiation and participation of interactions, these two individuals' fear of rejection will be mitigated and the users will therefore choose to interact. So by grounding these interaction spaces through triadic closure, as we call it, which is basically kind of connecting two people through a mutual friend, this reduces the uncertainty typically found in initiating interactions. And because strangers already know that they have a shared network, they already know something about each other, so that's an additional affordance that they have. And so by reducing this uncertainty, we kind of reduce the avoidance behavior caused by uncertainty between two different new people and promote engagement between them that'll further a relationship along. And so our second design argument has to deal with how do we actually get them to engage with each other meaningfully within these interactions. To do that, we scaffold interactions in our experience to promote behavior commonly found in friendships, one such as giving social support and disclosing relevant personal information to each other. And so strangers, this will feel validated and supported by each other and result in increased closeness in their friendship. So our flexible prompts don't really specifically state what is to be said or restrain the depth of the conversation. However, it does create a shared grounding which they can springboard conversations based off of. This can be personal experience, emotion, or value. And as their comfort level increases, these prompts kind of have that flexibility to have them describe whatever it is that they want to springboard off their conversation off of. So one such topic or prompt is that they talk about something that they are scared of or fear, and they create a picture or drawing that attempts to scare the other user and explain why that scares them themselves. And so, yeah, this is a way for them to kind of start talking about these emotions and kind of find connection and talk about.
This quarter, we wanted to test our second design argument. We wanted to see how prompts could increase the depth and level of self-disclosure that participants took part in. This increased depth of self-disclosure will help with the relationship development between the two people interacting. So, to test how the prompts guided the participants' interactions and discussions, we conducted a study during our status update. In this study, we paired people up based on their pair research pairings that day, which gave us 5 pairs or 10 participants. We had them join breakout rooms over Zoom, but had them turn the video or audio off, so the only way they could communicate was through Slack DMs. We gave them 3 prompts to do with their partner. Prior to these interactions, we had them fill out a pre-experience quantitative survey to give us a baseline of where they were at in their relationship with the other person. To simulate the physical affordances, we had them get a drink, sit by a window, and get a paper and pen to write down their life journey. These corresponded to the group cheers prompt, the mood meteorology prompt, and the life journey prompt that you will see in a couple slides. They had 15 to 20 minutes to do the prompts and then complete a post-experience quantitative survey and qualitative questionnaire. These are the 3 prompts. The first was mood meteorology, which said, having a good time today, sometimes the weather affects our mood. Take a picture showing the weather and add a caption about how it makes you feel. The life journey map asked them about their life journey and had them draw a diagram or a picture or something that had them represent their life journey, which they could then talk about with their partner. And group cheers simulated meeting up with somebody at a coffee shop where you take a picture of the drink that you're having, whether it be a coffee or maybe tea, and your partner would do the same thing, and then you could virtually cheers and talk about what you're cheersing to, something maybe you're proud of or happy about. The pre-quantitative survey consisted of a series of Likert scale questions that helped define the relationship between the two in the pair. Questions involve stuff like, I trust the other participant, or it is important to encourage or support the other participant if they were unhappy. This gave us a baseline of what the participants thought were important in a good relationship. Afterwards, the quantitative survey asked them the same questions as the pre-survey did to quantitatively measure the progress due to the prompts. Also, a qualitative survey allowed participants to explain how they did the prompts and what progress they felt that they made. There were 3 core findings from our status update that influenced our second study we conducted at the end of the quarter. The first core finding was that of time. Participants felt that the time restriction pressured them to get through all 3 prompts and not allow their conversations to develop, thus inhibiting good self-disclosure. The second showed us that consecutive prompts could serve as grounding for the next prompt. This made it harder to understand what exactly led to good self-disclosure, the physical affordances, previous prompts, or the current one. This made it so that we emphasized exactly what would lead to good grounding and what served as grounding for our next study that we conducted at the end of the quarter. The last finding was that self-disclosure was encouraged through Slack reactions and when participants felt that their responses were validated. Participants found that Slack reactions were a good way to validate their partner's responses and thus push the conversation forward in good self-disclosure. Utilizing these findings, we then designed a new study to validate OCE prompts supported that OCE prompts supported good self-disclosure. We wanted to answer the baseline question of how does scaffolding prompts promote relationship building self-disclosure for friendships across different comfort levels. This study looked like the status update in a lot of ways, but instead of pair research, we used mentors and mentees in DTR to test on 2 pairs. It was conducted over Slack DM again. Physical affordances were the same. In the first round of the study, the first pair did all 3 prompts, but the second pair only did 1 based on the results of the first round, still feeling a time pressure. After doing the prompts, each participant did a one-on-one interview to talk about the interaction. 3 prompts used were life journey map, group cheers, and nighttime spooks. Since we wanted to get at exactly what made participants offer up good self-disclosure, we included questions in the post-interview such as, what did you disclose to your partner and why did you choose to disclose these details? Or why do you think what you disclosed led to you feeling closer or not closer to your partner? After these two rounds of the study, we identified two core findings. The first helped us define what good self-disclosure is: personal information that helps the other empathize with who they are, what they value, and surface commonalities to act as deeper topics of conversation. This will help us further define our measures for future studies and identify improvements in relationship development. It also confirmed that good self-disclosure takes time, and the less participants feel time constricted, the better. Our second finding had to do with our affordances and the fact that they make participants feel comfortable asking personal questions. It helps springboard topics of conversation at a level of self-disclosure that helps them empathize.
So our study was able to provide evidence for what are the metrics that define a good self-disclosure that further people's relationship along, as well as evidence that the prompts promote relationship development through surfacing commonalities and using these commonalities to develop empathy by sharing deeper and more personal information with each other. However, the limitations were that we didn't obtain evidence for how the physical affordances that we provide and identify help promote self-disclosure. We can attribute that mostly with the study design, in that the affordances that we were providing them needed more time and effort in this virtual setting for it to really kind of embed itself in their minds. In addition, the time constraints in real interactions might come to play as the same way that it has come to play within our study, in that it might limit how much self-disclosure that they can actually get. And so in future, we want to measure actually how much self-disclosure is necessary for them to actually further relationship along by improving their interactions here as well as in the next interaction. So overall, this quarter, our major takeaways are that by specifying these user groups that we have, we iterated on the design argument and the prompt guidelines, as well as better defined self-disclosure measures. So this way, we provided a baseline to help improve the measurability and specificity of our relationship development goal, such that when we come back again next quarter for the project, we're able to build on this to better measure within our study how do we know whether our design worked or not in improving the relationships. In addition, by testing self-disclosure with our prototype, we provided preliminary evidence for and the future direction of studying how effective our OCs are promoting self-disclosure. And so again, this way we can build off of what we have this quarter in order to better define how well or in what way our OC promoted self-disclosure. And that's our progress this quarter, and thank you.